some mics that we're going to be passing around to make sure that Brooks gets really clear recording sound. So bear with us as we sort of pass those around this evening. And thank you to WUT for recording this. Really appreciate that ability to get this out to the rest of the community. So thank you everyone for coming. Just a quick review of what we're going to do. This is going to be very brief and straightforward. We are going to ask each of the school board candidates to give a brief introduction and an opening statement. We are going to hear from the board chair on how the voting system works for voting for candidates. And then we've provided the candidates with questions ahead of time, and we're going to hear all of their responses to those questions. And if you have other questions that you would like to ask or have responses to those questions, there are index cards and pens on the table for you. Feel free to jot those down and pass them to me, and we'll have time later before it ends to answer those questions, to ask them to answer those questions. So we'll be out of here by 6:30. So let's hear from the candidates first, and we're going to do this because there's a chance that one or two people may have to leave early. We want to make sure we at least get their opening statements in as quickly as we can. So let's turn it to the candidates, and we're just going to ask you each to take a minute or two just to tell us who you are and just a really brief opening statement. And we'll just start at the end.
My name is Marcy.
Oh, wait, make sure you have the little... Okay, just this one, we'll pass it.
My name is Marcy Winslow. I grew up in Woodstock, and I am running for the Woodstock seat on the school board. I have a degree in legal studies, as well as I am a registered nurse and currently work as the director of nursing at a rehab facility in South Paris. I've been married for 17 years, and I am the mom to a phenomenal 6th grader, if I do say so myself. And I'm really just interested in making a difference and seeing what changes I can help in a positive way.
Hello, I'm Bob McQueenie. I'm from Woodstock also. I'm currently the incumbent, I guess. I got appointed last year when the previous board member couldn't finish out his term. I've raised 5 children. At the time, I didn't have the time between working overtime to feed them and parenting them to be on the school board. Now's my opportunity where I'm retired. I have the time to do this. When I accepted the position, first thing Vern did at the town office, give me a stack of books this tall to read, that tall to read. And I read through them all. And then I got some more stuff on email I had to read. And then we got some seminars. And if I'm in for a penny, I'm in for a pound. And the biggest thing we're up against right now is the school bus garage is up for replacement. I've worked in construction all my life. I think I can be very helpful in getting a decent school bus garage for the for the school administrative district. Make sure it's a good usable facility for now and for the future. I'd like to see that through. And pretty much that's it.
Thank you.
I'm Jamie Hastings from Bethel, a mom of 2 children that attend the Telstar Middle School. My daughter is in 6th grade and my son in 8th. I too graduated from Telstar myself, so I've lived in this area my entire life. I'm a paralegal. I work for the district attorney's office. I have many other experiences. I've worked everywhere from a daycare, as a daycare provider, to an officer in adult corrections. So I hope to elaborate on that a little bit during the question portion, but I have been an officer of one of the local PTAs here in our district for 9 years, and I'm just looking to take the next step in child advocacy and really trying to make sure that our children have an opportunity to reach their potential.
Hello, my name is Erin Cooley, and I'm from Greenwood. I have 2 daughters enrolled here at Crescent Park, one in 2nd and one in 3rd grade. I am a Telstar graduate as well. I graduated in 2002. I studied political science at the University of Southern Maine and spent some time studying abroad. I have experience in the mental health field, both in direct care and administratively. I'm currently working part-time painting houses and cleaning. It affords me a lot more time with my girls that are growing up way too quickly. And it allows me to be, a lot more involved in their education and activities. I've had the pleasure of working with the school board before. I sat on the school board for Greenwood from the spring of 2009 to the summer of 2011. During that time, I gained an understanding of how the board functions, the role it plays, and how it works collaboratively with the schools and community. And I would be honored to serve in that role again. Thank you.
Here you are.
This is the hardest part. Oh, I have it upside down. I wonder. Okay. My name is Carol Olson Everett. I am from Bethel. I am actually a native of Bethel. My 2 children graduated from Telstar, and I have a granddaughter in the 10th grade presently, and a granddaughter that graduated 3 years ago. I was a school bus driver for the district for 21 years, so I am quite familiar with the way the school is working, and I am very interested in seeing that all children get the education that they deserve.
Okay, I'm the odd one out because I'm not from Maine, so I'm from Texas. My name is Chastity Lake, and I am a resident in Greenwood. I have 4 children. I've got 1 here at Crescent Park and 3 at the junior high. I have a 6th grader and 2 8th graders. I don't have a lot of educational qualities in the sense. I am just a parent who's been parenting for a really long time, it seems, but I know that eventually it's going to be a lot longer. But I definitely want to bring a new fresh eyes and mindset. I have been in and around the special education department for a really long time. I have a son who is autistic, and I see a need, a big one, so I want to help as much as I possibly can for our students who are in that department and want to give them a voice. Thank you.
Hello, my name is David Bartlett. I'm a school board member from the town of Newry, and I lived in this area since 1978. And 2 stepboys and 1 daughter went through Telstar school system, SAD 44 school system. And I have worked at Sunday River for 22 years as water and wastewater personnel, and then achieved water and wastewater director after 22 years of employment. I am now semi-retired and would like to see the school system here take better care of the attendance and also the goals, the scholastic goals that need to be set for the state and national standards. I believe back in, well, actually when my daughter was going to school, there were times that the grades were below national and state standards, and that's one of my goals on the board, that I would like to see those goals attained by our students and can meet the national and state standards. Thank you.
We're going to ask Marcel now, the chair of the board, to share a little information on the voting process.
So I'm going to use your thing.
Why don't you just put this right on, so you can put it under your sweater.
Use this one.
Use this one? Okay.
Sure.
I'll just hang on to this. So my name is Marcel Pollack. I'm the chair of the board. I'm not a native, but I have lived in this community for 40 years. I benefit from public education, and I'm paying it forward. My daughter went through her whole school here at SAD 44, so she had a great education. So I wanted to just explain to you a little bit about school board directors. The public has thought, not just in this community, but everywhere in Maine, has thought for years since they elected their directors at town meetings that their directors represented the towns. Okay, unfortunately, that's not the case. Unlike that is the case for select board members and for state representatives, but not for school board directors. So Maine's Constitution essentially gave the legislature the obligation to develop laws regarding schools, and school board directors are actually agents of the state. So let me read to you just a very brief paragraph that the Maine Supreme Court describing the authority of school board directors. The school committee as a public board in no sense represents the towns. Its members are chosen by voters of the towns, but after election they are public officers deriving their authority from the law and responsible to the state for the good faith and rectitude of their acts. So I'm not going to get into the responsibilities of school board directors. That's found in policy, and it's on our website, and we have a whole section on those responsibilities. And for those folks here, and by the way, welcome, and thank you for coming. For decades, following this one-person, one-vote rule of the Constitution, we had weighted votes in this community. And each of the towns had different number of directors based on their population, and their votes, their weighted votes, were actually also based on their population. So effectively, we do vote, and occasionally we would actually add up those votes. They totaled 1,000 votes. And because of that weighted vote system and the population allocation, Newry only had 2 representatives, Woodstock had 3, Greenwood had 3, Bethel had 6. And in terms of weighted votes, when it came to a close vote, we would have those weighted votes. Newry basically, its 2 directors did not have as many votes as one director from Woodstock or from Bethel. And so we were sort of stuck with this system until we got some really good legal advice from our attorneys that there was another way we could do this. And we basically had a committee established of the different towns from the 4 towns, and we came up with a new system. And this is the new system we have today. So we've essentially eliminated weighted votes. So each director, when it comes down to voting, has 1 vote. And we also changed the system so that Newry would get 3 votes, Greenwood 3, Woodstock 3, and Bethel 6. And the other part of the system that is really fundamentally different, prior to this, we would elect directors at each town meeting, and it was only those folks that came to town meetings that were able to vote. And in my town, for example, we would get maybe 100 people coming to a town meeting out of 1,100 population, and that voting body voted in the director. Now we are voting by public referendum, by ballot referendum. That's going to be on June 11th, and all the different voters of the towns are going to vote on the whole slate of candidates. Okay, so that creates some consistency and clarity for voters in terms of understanding that when they're voting for directors, those directors are representing the entire district and the state and not their own towns. Of course, on June 11th, there are absentee ballots available. So if you can't make it to your town office, which is during normal voting hours, you can vote by absentee ballot. And I also wanted to encourage everyone to come tomorrow night to the district budget hearing. It's at 6:30 at the Helen Berry Auditorium at Telstar. It's an important meeting because we will go into, Dr. Murphy will go into detail about the different cost centers that comprise the entire budget. On June 11th, after tomorrow's vote to validate the different cost centers, as voters will, in addition to voting in candidates, will also vote on the budget. At that point, that will only be an up and down vote. So, thank you, everybody, and good to hear you what you're going to say.
Thank you, Marcel. Great. Thank you for the clarifications. Appreciate that. So we've provided the candidates questions ahead of time. So I'm going to read one question at a time, and we'll hear from everyone to answer that question, and then we'll go to the next one, and so on until we get through the list. There's 5 questions. They're on the agendas on the table if you want to see what those questions are in front of you. So I will start at the top here.
Excuse me, just for a minute.
Yes.
It is because of the fans. You may need to speak a little louder. Unless you have a microphone, folks. No, I guess so try to speak a little because it's harder to hear.
Okay. Thanks, Marcel. So the first question is, what is your personal motivation for serving on the board of directors? Does anyone want to start? Thanks, Marcel.
So for me, it was pretty easy. I've always been passionate about education and supporting teachers, but since becoming a mom and having a student in the school system, my son went to Woodstock Elementary and we've been so fortunate. He's had the most amazing teachers from kindergarten all the way up through to this year, his first year in middle school. And it just really motivates me and makes me want to create the best educational opportunities that I can for my son, but his friends and all the kids in the community. I've been fortunate to get to know the teachers through PTA. I've been able to do that since my son was in kindergarten and each year. So yeah, for me it's just because I'm a mom and I want to, make some positive changes. I want to be a part of that. It's exciting to me. So yeah.
Thank you. Let's go down the line.
Sorry, I volunteered you.
That's okay. Okay, in my case, my children are grown and out on their own now, but now I have time to give back to the community. I've benefited from education, my children have. I'd like to help out, fill a position here, provide the best decision making I can when we come upon issues. And quite frankly, I've got the time to do it. I want to do it. I love helping out in the community. You probably see me all over the community, cleanup days, planning boards, historical societies, and part of this community. I want to continue as part of this community.
So I'll say I was one of the candidates who thought I may have to leave early. I spend my spare time when I can volunteering for the youth. I coach youth softball, and our game has clearly been rained out for tonight, so I'm happy to get to stay for the evening. I did write down answers so that they could be read in my absence, but I'll just refer to them as I'm answering the questions. And I touched on it in my introduction. I've been involved, in the schools. I was a substitute teacher for 6 years in the district, so I was in the schools, actively, volunteering, and of course, in that role, I was a sub for a period of about 3 months and in the school every day, working with the middle school, but I don't think there's a school that I haven't subbed in or been in some role, and as I said, been a part of the PTA as well. I always want more than what I think I can achieve, and it's a good feeling to be able to take that next step. I just feel like, I've done what I can at the PTA level. Advocacy for children is very, very important to me, and I want to make sure that we're providing the best possible opportunities for success, and education experiences play a significant role in shaping our children's future, and I just want to be a part of that going forward.
So I attended school in the district, and now my daughters are. I'm very passionate about their education, but also the education of all of the children in the district. I recognize the value of a solid, comprehensive education and what that brings to the student and also the community. And this community will always be home to me. I care a lot about it. So I view this as an opportunity for me to dedicate my time and insight and give back to the schools and to this community.
As I mentioned earlier, I was a school bus driver for 21 years, and so while my children were in school. So I really got to know their friends and was involved in their extracurricular activities, plus their education, and I could not be on the board while I was working for the district. So when I did get done driving, I got thinking about it for a while, and then I did decide to go on the board. I've been on the board for 10 years, and I've been on just about all of the subcommittees that we have, and I have learned a lot, and it's very unique, and I would recommend it for everyone to serve.
Ooh, my passion derives from, when I first got here, I automatically got into the football program, the Telstar Youth Football Program, being that I've got 3 boys. I have one in particular that adores football, so this helps that mom's really football fan too. So being able to get in touch with the youth right off the bat was always something that I have to do because of the 4 kids I do have. That being, I saw a huge need for a voice for our kids in this particular community. I come from a very different background, different cultural background, and I've gone to school in many different places, and I've also gone to a school where I graduated with 41 kids in my class, and that was in the entire class. So when I came here, I saw that there were certain things that were not being addressed or not being heard, and I definitely wanted to give that voice and be able to do the best that I could for that voice. I definitely, again, want to advocate for the special education community that's here. I want to be able to give a new perspective of what that is and what that means in a community like this. And that's what I want to be able to do.
First, I want to thank the Bethel Area Nonprofit Collaboration and all the other special interests for sponsoring this event tonight. My personal motivation is to help bring scholastic goals up to state and national standards, as I mentioned earlier. For many years, we have had problems in this area, and I want to be a part of the school board team to work on this.
Why don't you hang on to that, and maybe we can go this way for the next question. The next question is, what specific qualities, skills, or experience do you bring to the board of directors, or would you bring? You can start, and we'll just go down the line that way.
I worked at Sunday River Ski Resort for 22 years as their water and wastewater director. I served on the first NURI withdrawal committee back in the early 1990s. I was nominated by 2 different governors for 2 different terms of office to the State of Maine Board of Licensure for Certified Water Operators. I attended many seminars, conferences on many different subject matter. A vice chairman of the NURI Planning Board, served in 3 different occasions. Active volunteer when my grandsons attended Crescent Park School, and that should do it.
Thank you.
Well, with the skills, would definitely be the fact that I'm a mom of 4 that are still growing, getting into high school almost, and the fact that I did work with special needs children with Temple Bible Church. It's a really big church out in Texas, and with that, I was able to go to a lot of different seminars to learn how to be able to teach special needs children of all spectrums and having that to come back to, and then also myself being a parent with an autistic child, I went to the University of Texas quite often to their autism program to get training and an understanding of sensory processing and just different disorders, and I want to be able to bring that to a community that may have not been able to get some experience like that.
I believe my 21 years of school bus driving gave me a lot of experience with children on and off the bus. And I've also been on the board for 10 years, so just being on the individual subcommittees has given me a lot more insight into many factors of the district.
Having graduated from Telstar, I'm able to share this perspective of a former student in the district, and I'm also a parent of children in the district currently, so I can share that perspective as well with the board. The courses that I took in political science and public administration, I think will help with my overall understanding and my ability to work with the board. My time spent studying abroad was an invaluable experience, and I think that, I'd like to share that with the board and the insight that I developed. I learned a tremendous amount while working in the mental health field, and I've gained an understanding of some of the challenges that our students, their family, our faculty may be up against. And I'd like to share that insight with the board. And my prior experience on the school board also contributes to me being a solid candidate.
As I said in my opening, I am a paralegal by trade. I have a degree in criminal justice and a certificate in paralegal studies. I've worked in a law firm for the last 9 years, most recently the district attorney's office for the last 6 years. I'm an agent of the district attorney, so I fully understand the responsibilities that go along with that appointment and the expectation of us fulfilling our roles in those various capacities. I could bring many professional experiences to the table. I've worked in many different capacities. As I mentioned, a substitute teacher, which of course in this district I think gives me a lot of helpful insight. I'm organized, motivated, and determined. I'm a natural problem solver, always working to find solutions. I enjoy setting goals and achieving them no matter how challenging they might be. I've been a treasurer of a nonprofit organization, the American Legion Auxiliary, the local Lock Mills unit, for over 10 years. I've been an officer for probably closer to 20, and I also have served on the Department of Maine Executive Committee as the junior chairperson, so facilitating meetings for all of the junior girls throughout the state. I'll be stepping down from that position as I look forward to fulfilling a role here in the local community and putting my focus here. I'm also, well, as part of my job through the district attorney's office, I was involved in the formation of the Oxford Hills Restorative Justice Project. Some of you may know that, so I've been very involved in efforts being made in that area. I'm also a member and partner of the Children's Advocacy Center of Androscoggin, Franklin, and Oxford counties. That involves a national accreditation process with a substantial amount of training and collaboration. And we're in that reaccreditation process right now. So you might wonder how I'm not retired, how I have time, but I really think that when the passion is there, you make the time. You set your priorities. All of my time is spent trying to better the lives of my children and all children. So I enjoy this type of stuff. I don't want downtime. I make the time to make sure that what I commit to has my full attention, and I'm passionate about being able to provide all of our children with these opportunities, and I look forward to being a part of that.
Okay, in the past few years, I've been called upon by the town to fill a couple of ad hoc committees concerning the schools. But most of my life, all my life, I've worked in construction. And with the school bus garage coming up here soon, I've worked in construction, everything from being labor on up to superintending full-size jobs. I've worked in the design phase, actually drawn up and built buildings. And quite frankly, I think that could be put to very good use on this on the upcoming bus garage issue. Having raised a sizable family, I know the value of $1. When you have 7 mouths you got to feed, you don't just throw money at a problem. You make sure you get your value for your money. And I really think I can do a good job with that and help out with the upcoming projects. That's on top of all the other things that we have to do. Being part of a business, you understand the budgeting, the personnel issues, although they're different construction from school boards, of course. But a lot of that experience is going to come in handy in everything we do.
So as I mentioned earlier, I am the Director of Nursing of a skilled facility in South Paris. So I currently am responsible and operate the building with 76 beds and 70 plus employees that are specifically mine. So I'm really comfortable with, HR, with budget, all of those types of things. I have been and served on several boards, committees, subcommittees. I know what goes into them. I know it's a lot of time. It's a lot of work. It's also very satisfying. I also was on the Telstar Youth Football Board for 2 years, and I really enjoyed that. That was also very rewarding. I am a great listener, and I feel like I'm not afraid to ask difficult questions. And I tend, just by the nature of my job, have to navigate difficult issues and concerns and make hard decisions on a regular basis. And I feel like, I still have a job, that I do that pretty well, and that I've proven my solid judgment making skills. So I think for me, the one thing that I feel like really is my main motivator is because I'm a mom and because I do have a vested interest in how everything goes, and just making sure that we're offering the best educational experiences that we can.
Thank you. Just hang on to that and we'll just go back this way. The next question is, what is one educational opportunity that you would hope to champion for students while you're serving on the board?
I think for me, one of the real opportunities I think we have is retaining the students that we have. And I feel like if I were to be or to get onto the school board, that would be one place I would really want to focus my attention, reaching out to parents and students as to why they're considering transferring their students to a different school. I feel like there are some opportunities, or at least some potential opportunities there. I feel like there are ways that we can still offer our kids great possibility, great opportunities, great things by collaborating with other schools. For instance, Schooled Academy, I feel like, clearly I don't know what the barriers are there at this point, but I really feel like it definitely bears some looking at and some consideration. So I think that's for me.
In my case, the educational opportunity I'd like to see for these students is vocational education. I was fortunate to be able to take advantage of vocational education during high school when I was growing up. That served me well through my life. Gave me a good running start into the construction field. There's not enough construction workers going around. Just try to schedule any kind of work for your house. You're going to be told mostly it's going to take months before they can get to you. If it's a short, quick one, they might be able to squeeze you in. But if it's a big project, there's not enough construction workers around. The state recently had to refuse some bids because they came in so high because they can't hire enough people. It means overtime. I'd really like to push the vocational education because it's kind of where the rubber meets the road. That's where you're learning how to actually do the job. It's one thing to know English, math, science, but how do you apply it to a job? Vocational education bridges that gap. And that's really what I'm all about, I guess.
Thank you.
In addition to supporting the academic curriculum of the district and continuing its development, it's my desire to foster an approach to learning that supports our staff and students as a whole, to include continuing to build an environment most conducive for learning and growing. The staff and students alike need to feel supported and know that they're not in isolation, but that in fact they have an entire community behind them with efforts being made to give our children the opportunities and experiences they need to develop academic and life skills to become strong, confident, kind, and successful. I think my staff stepson went through the Telstar Freshman Academy as one of the first classes, and I just had the orientation for my son, who will be a freshman next year. And really, you know, that approach and that mindset of sort of addressing the whole picture, not just academically, but also encompassing, you know, problem-solving skills and real-life situations, in my opinion, that can't start soon enough. So adopting that approach that I see is already embedded in the district, at least at that level, is something that I would love to see spread, you know, even to start at a younger age, because it's never too soon to start looking at life like what we're teaching our children is what they're actually going to be able to use for skills and tools as they move through adulthood and through life.
I had a hard time answering this question. I may have not understood it correctly, but I felt as if it alluded somewhat to a personal agenda that I just don't have. I'm interested in working, you know, with the group toward a common goal, so I suppose I'll pass on this one.
One educational opportunity I'd like to see is, I'd like to see cursive handwriting come back into the schools. I have been to a couple events where even the National Honor Society students have not been able to read people's names because they were written in cursive. And I really think that's very important to keep it going. And, you know, it was a few years ago, but when I was in school, we had a penmanship teacher come in, and we really had to keep practicing our letters until we had them perfect. But I just want to see them have the advantage and no cursive and the printing as well.
And I guess my educational goal is to have more of a person-to-person education setting, because I believe that it hits on more of the social aspects and also the fundamentals of education, not just having the pocket concepts, which is now a new term in the learning environment. And I would like to see more of the fundamentals being taught correctly. And again, like I said, person to person, and not so much answering questions on a screen or getting their information directly from a screen. With as many hours as our kids already on the outside play with electronics, TV, media, things like that, I think that in this case there needs to be more teacher to student teaching rather than time management and things like that, because that is the most common complaint that I get from the students that I speak with, from the students that I mentor, things like that. That's what they are begging and pleading for, and that's the voice that I'm getting at when it comes to the educational part of this board.
I would like to see more opportunities offered to our students through school trips and cultural exchanges, such as being offered by the China Exchange Student Program. This type of cultural diversity experience will last with students for a lifetime.
Thank you. So what do you think is one specific way we can improve our schools? So go ahead and then.
By teaching life skills such as how to handle money, how to balance a checkbook, how to handle situations in life. I think these are simple things that kids should be taught in school. I know my daughter graduated from school in 1996, graduated from college in 2000, and then went off with her life and was hard-pressed how to handle money and how to balance a checkbook. So some of these things I feel is necessary in the school, maybe in the junior, senior year of high school, to get these basic life skills down for kids for when they move on for their own life.
Thank you.
I would definitely like to see more hands-on with the kids, with teachers, and with being able for our kids to come back and say, hey, Mom, this is what I learned today. This is this one thing that I learned today, and not go, oh, we just learned the same thing. That, I think, our district could be amazing.
I think we need to start looking outside the box and try to find ways to retain our students. And we're very fortunate to have a superintendent that takes advantage of every grant that we can find, and that has really gotten us like TFA and the CMCC program, which I think is awesome. And we just need to do a little more thinking to try to retain our students.
One specific way I think we could improve our schools over the long term is to work on making them more energy efficient. When I was on the school board before, I took part in the facilities subcommittee, and we did tours, and there were areas in pretty much each of our buildings that could be improved upon or updated. And I think, over time, if we continue to work on this area and improve on it, we can reallocate some of the money that is spent on these inefficiencies to resources and school programs.
First, I just want to say improvements are being made in our schools. I see them. I'm in the schools. I plan to continue to be in the schools and to see, what is really happening at the ground level. There's always room for continued improvement, though. Referring back to the previous question, I think we can improve on the tools that we provide our children for managing difficult situations, intense emotions, and being a good space to learn. Knowledge can be shared and materials taught. However, unless the child is able to be receptive, they'll not be able to take full advantage of what is being offered to them. Education involves both teaching and the environment in which one is being taught. I long to see classrooms, hallways, sports fields, everywhere our children visit, a place where we're building each other up, encouraging one another, and pushing ourselves and those around us to places we didn't know we were capable of reaching, and then celebrating together as we reach those heights.
The biggest place I think I don't know if it's the biggest place, but the one I see the most need for is the local construction trades. Again, going back to vocational education. I'd like to see plumbing, electrical courses get taught. Again, in this area, if you try to hire a plumber or electrician, you're waiting a while. These jobs, if the person owns his own business, he can command $65, $75, $100 an hour, and people are happy to pay that. These are high-paying jobs. We're not talking about a $7 an hour job. That needs to be coupled with the business courses. It's fine if a man knows how to, or a woman knows how to wire a house, but they've got to be able to bill for it properly and run the business. So I think it's a combination of the vocational education and the business end of the spectrum.
So I concur with Jamie. I have seen so many amazing improvements year after year as Hunter's gone through school. And as the elementary school mom who was really panicked about my son going into his first year of middle school, it has been absolutely amazing with Mr. Kenny and Lindsay Lecce, just amazing, amazing people. And I just see it getting better and better all the time. I would say for me, it's really not as specific to education as it is specific to the overall kind of school experience for an improvement, and that for me is the bus driver slash transportation situation that we have in terms of we don't have enough of them. So I know, speaking personally, my son had ski meets this year that had to be canceled because we didn't have a bus driver, and I feel like after school activities, sports, they're so vital for our kids. It keeps them out of trouble. It forces them to keep their grades up because they have to have a certain grade to be on the teams, and it just keeps them interested in school overall. So I would say in terms of improvement, that would be one area that I would really like to focus on.
Thank you.
Yeah.
The last question is to just comment on the development of the fiscal year 20 budget. If you just have a comment on how that development has gone, feel free to share it.
So it's kind of hard to speak on the development of a budget that I wasn't a part of, but I am familiar with creating budgets and following budgets. As I said earlier, I run a 76-bed facility. I know all the time and energy and difficult decisions that go into the budgets. So I would say I was happy to see that transportation was up in the flyer, so I'm not sure what that means yet because I haven't seen like an itemized or anything, but kind of hoping more bus drivers. Yeah, I'm still on that soapbox.
Like as far as the development of the fiscal budget, being on the school board, I get to see some of that, obviously. And I know the biggest concern is we want to maintain the standards and qualities and not regress any. But on the other hand, we're also sensitive to people's personal budgets and how much we raise the budget so that because there's this thing called inflation. You can't beat that. And it's going up. It goes up every year. You just can't seem to help it. But boy, I've seen some belt tightening going on, and it's like, can they tighten it any more? And they always seem to. And I'm just amazed at what happens with that. Thank you.
I too have not served on the board before, so I have great respect for the financial component and responsibilities of the board of directors. I know a lot of hard work and careful consideration goes into developing a budget for the operation of our district. I do have some experience as well. All of my electives in school were taken in finance because at the time I wasn't sure which direction I wanted to go with my future, so finance would be my second choice for a profession if it were not in the criminal justice field. So that is a strong interest of mine, and I look forward to looking at it more closely.
I didn't take part, obviously, in the development of this budget, but what I have seen of the budget and learned of the budget for the fiscal year 2020 is that it seems pragmatic and a decent solution for all the district. I think switching from the 100% valuation to the 85-15, where 85 valuation, 15% student count, seems more fair overall, and I think addresses, a lot of the concerns and is a much better alternative than Newry potentially withdrawing from the district.
I have never served on the finance committee, but I do know they put in long, hard hours, and they come up with a budget and present it to us at the board meeting, and then they go over any and all questions that we have. And I know we did vote unanimously to approve the budget this year, and it was just up slightly, but a lot of the cost share formula did contribute to some of that, and there were just other little areas, but it's up very slightly. And I do recommend you go to the public budget hearing tomorrow night at 6:30 at Telstar, and if you have any questions or just to listen to.
Didn't serve on the board at any time, and I didn't have any say on the budget, but I'm definitely eager to learn as much as I possibly can and get as much information soaked in as possible so that I am able to answer any questions later on by anybody in the public so that it's better explained, a little easier, and I hope that I could help in any way.
Many hours of work was spent in the 11 different cost centers by all the committees, scrutinizing the budget. Work sessions were informative and productive. The entire board came together to give a unanimous approval to the 2020 school board budget.
Thank you, everyone. If anyone else has questions, you can write them down and just pass them over to Kat, and we'll pose them to the group. We have one here. So I'll ask the question, and anyone who wants to answer is welcome. Just make sure you get the mic so we can get the clear recording. The question is, do you feel our schools get adequate support from the community? If yes, what are the best examples? If no, what do you think are ways to increase support?
I will answer answer that. And the reason I'll answer that is the first year that I got here, I donated my time in making breakfast burritos for the juniors to take their SATs. And I put an all shout out, call out to the community. While they are amazing about giving certain things, I think that time is something that is extremely valuable when you do something like that. I think that parents are trying the best that they can. I just don't think that there's enough information put out for parents early enough so that they can plan around that and volunteer as much as they can. So I think that question is a yes and a no. It just kind of all depends on what's going on, if enough time is given and it's scheduled correctly.
I do think the community is quite involved, but we do have a working community, and a lot of the parents, of course, are at jobs during the day, but they do volunteer or send in anything that the student needs. We also have contractor days, and amazing things happen on those days. So I think people are very willing to help if they know about it.
Based on the experiences that I've had with my daughters in the school currently here at Crescent Park, it seems the community is very involved. There's always, we should always make attempts to pull people in more but I've seen a great number of parents and family members come in to volunteer for different activities or go along field trips or dedicate their time to, say resources, class supplies. So I would feel, based on what I've seen, that the community is fairly involved and we should continue to encourage that.
Yeah. I would say the community support is improving. I grew up in this district, have lived and worked in this district, and it's certainly improving. Organizations, such as the one that have brought us here tonight, are a really great support for our community and our schools. I think that the collaboration is important. That's why I enjoy being a part of so many different organizations and groups, because you learn what each other's strengths and weaknesses are, and resources are our number one ally, in everything. And so I think that a lot of the area nonprofits, the resiliency projects that are taking place, the efforts that are being made to better our community really can go hand in hand in our children's educational experiences, and to support the staff of the schools too, and parents. They need support as well. So I really think I do see collaboration of nonprofits and of just individuals who want to be involved. And I do see that coming together, so it's really inspiring.
I've been involved in a few of the extracurricular events at some of the meetings after schools. Late last year, they had a spaghetti dinner at the church across from the school. And I noticed that every one of these events, I've seen a smattering of parents, so the parents are involved. I don't see the same parent all the time, so it's like a revolving account of them. But I'd like to encourage more of that and make more opportunities available. Time is an issue because of jobs, and jobs aren't just 9 to 5 anymore. They're all hours a day, so it's not the easiest thing. But I'd like to see more encouragement for parents to get involved with the kids.
I definitely think it's getting better and better in terms of the community involvement. I see local businesses, moms and dads, grandparents, aunts and uncles, all supporting our kids as best they can, coaching. Jamie was Hunter's first football coach. I just see so much more of that, and I feel like lots of times the people who aren't are because they're not being asked. I've never seen a community where once you put it out there, once you ask the question, like Chastity was saying, everybody kind of jumps in. They just need to know what to do. Some people just need that little prompt. So I'm proud to be part of a community that always seems to come together when it really makes a difference.
Yes, I'd like to see more people involved in the PTA here, and I also like to see more school pride shown by everyone in the community and in the school. I think if we can get behind all the students, at different events, basketball, football games, as such, and all come out for that would bring the community closer.
Are there other questions from the audience?
Great, thank you. If anyone, yeah, thank you. If anyone has something they want to say in closing, you're welcome to do that. If you feel like you've said what you need to say, that's fine too. Anyone? Good. Okay. Thank you all very much. Appreciate you stepping up to serve in this role and showing up tonight to share this. And again, I want to mention that this was recorded, so we will put it out on the bank Facebook page. It will also go out on the Western Hills Access TV Facebook page, and we'll find a few other places to provide that link so that you can let other people know about it and they can watch it on their own time. And thank you all for coming. Appreciate it. Thank you.